Hey guys, what's up? It's Easy Rocker here, and I am here to talk to you guys about the Condi Renegade rotation. Basically, I did something like this on stream a while ago, and a lot of people requested me to put it on YouTube. I thought I wasn't satisfied with my Twitch recording, so I thought I'd just like redo it for you guys on YouTube. Now that I actually have some more gear to show you guys different rotations, I can go a little bit more into detail on this, right? This is, however, not a super in-depth guide. This is done without a script. I'm basically just from the top of my head going to show you guys the rotation, the two build alternatives you have for Condi Renegade, and basically what to look out for, how to play this. Maybe I'll show you a rotation in this video as well. And basically just to help you understand and learn the class in case you are planning to practice Renegade. Yeah. So here we go. Basically, let's start with the traits. There are two general builds that you want to go for. One is called the Balefire build and one is called the Nightmare build, okay? And I'm going to quickly tell you where these guys differ. It's basically about this trait down here. It's whether you run Vindication or Lasting Legacy. Okay, and to understand when you would run Vindication, you have to kind of know about hitboxes. It has a lot to do with enemy hitboxes, right? So what Vindication does is basically the important effect is that Citadel Bombardment pulls more missiles into Tyria. That's your F3 skill. So if you have Vindication and you use F3, there's going to be more projectiles coming out of this. I'm just going to quickly reset this and then show you again. So there are less projectiles if you don't run Vindication. However, this is on a very big AoE, right? And there's a high chance that if the enemy is a small hitbox, that a lot of these projectiles are going to miss, right? And what do these projectiles do? They apply burning. So basically, the more of these projectiles you hit, the more burning you're going to get on your target. And the bigger your target hitbox, the more of the projectiles are going to hit, the bigger that impact is going to be. Therefore, if you run Vindication on a big hitbox, you're going to do much more burning. And when you do much more burning, a different rule might make more sense. Your build will focus more around the aspect of burning. So you run a Balefire build, the rune of Balefire, which gives you burning duration and which also converts a lot of your power into expertise. So this is a very strong build. This is probably considered the strongest build for big hitboxes, although it's sometimes kind of hard to see. Some people, I've seen people reach intense numbers on Nightmare builds on big hitboxes as well. However, I personally favor this one. I've had better results on bigger hitboxes, and on the Golem, you're actually going to hit bigger numbers with this as well. Although in this case, the Golem really isn't the perfect example because of like Torment, etc. Special conditions that will deal more damage on actually moving targets, which of course the Golem doesn't do, right? However, this is just for your understanding. This is basically why people play the Balefire build, is because Vindication on large hitboxes, aka more burning, leads to different rune for more burning duration, a little bit more burning centered build, right? There's another build called the Nightmare build. Now for this one, instead of running Vindication, you run Lasting Legacy. And in Lasting Legacy, basically what this does is that your Callous Fervor lasts longer and is more potent, right? Callous Fervor is the passive buff that you will just apply this to yourself throughout your rotation. It's not something you really have to pay too much notice to. As you run your rotation, you're going to get this Callous Fervor buff. With this trait, this buff is going to be stronger, therefore you're going to have more general condition damage. It's going to boost your stats, while this is going to increase the skill and give you more burning. This is just going to give you more Condi damage, basically. So yeah, how does this affect the rotation? Basically, now that you don't run Vindication, your F3 isn't as important anymore, right? So throughout your rotation, you're actually going to use your F3 less than you would if you run the Vindication trait. I'm going to show you both rotations in just a minute, right? So basically this is it for smaller hitboxes. You always want to run Lasting Legacy, because you're not going to get full value out of Vindication. You're not going to hit all these projectiles anyway because of the small hitbox, so might as well get the increase on your condition damage. And with this, you're also going to apply less burning, right? Because you're not going to hit your F3, you're actually going to use your F3 a lot less than on Vindication. You're going to apply way less burning. Instead, you're actually going to use this skill, Unyielding Anguish, a lot more, which applies Torment. So, now you don't want your burning duration to be as high, now you actually want your Torment duration to be higher. If you look at the stats on the right, you're actually going to see that we're not capped on Torment, right? So what you do, I'm just going to quickly jump to my build templates here, is when you equip the Condi Nightmare build, see, and I'm swapping my build to also Viper gear, but this time with the Nightmare rune in it, instead of Balefire rune. With this you're going to have better Condis on Torment, right? So, and less burning. So, how does this affect the rotation really? I'm also running this trade instead of this trade because I'm going less for burning. This is like a... Yeah, this one doesn't make a huge difference, but yeah, it's like on Vindication I go for more burning, therefore Diabolic Inferno. On Nightmare I go for Maniacal Persistence, right? So, now that we've covered when to run with, basically let's sum it up again, right? Let's sum it up again. Lasting Legacy goes in combination with Nightmare Rune and small hitbox enemies. Vindication, large hitbox enemies with Balefire rune. Okay, these are the two builds. If you are completely new to Renegade, I'd actually suggest you start with the Nightmare build, because more bosses, there's a lot of small hitbox bosses, right? You can still run this on a big hitbox boss, okay? But the Balefire rune will perform significantly worse on small hitbox bosses. So, Lasting Legacy, the Nightmare build, that will work fine on all hitboxes. It's just not going to do as well on big hitboxes as the Balefire build, whereas the Balefire build might slightly outperform this build on big hitboxes, but on small hitboxes it's gonna suck, right? So, if you're completely new to Renegade, I suggest you start with the Nightmare build, and yeah, this is what I'm going to start the rotation on. So now it might become interesting for all of you guys who are practicing Renegade and aren't really getting anywhere. I always tell people that Renegade is an incredibly hard class to learn, because to get it right, it actually requires very fast skill usage, like right off the bat. Basically, if you're too slow using your skills, you're not going to be able to energy manage as well. And that's a very, very important part to your rotation, right? So on Renegade, not only do your skills have cooldowns, they also have an energy cost, right? And your energy will replenish or deplenish depending on whether you use certain active abilities that will drain you of energy, right? So this is not that kind of in-depth guide where I explain every class mechanic, right? But just to show a quick example, you have skills that just cost you energy, like this skill, just costs straight up 30 energy. Your weapon skills, they cost you energy. And then you have draining skills, basically like the elite, which is like an elite form. As you use this, you see your energy slowly drains. And we're going to use a mix of all of these, basically. And now, all the Condi Renegade builds essentially play around one trait, okay? This is probably the single most important trait that you have, and it's called Charged Mists. Invoking a legend while at or below the energy threshold grants extra energy to your new legend. Which means that if you, in combat, fall below 10% energy and swap your legends, you're going to start off with 75% energy instead of 50. So you basically, if you manage your energy right, if you manage to drain your energy to below 10% every time, you're going to end up with more energy in the next form, which allows you to add extra skills, right? And this, of course, is very important. This basically means that you get to use certain skills twice as much. Like, for example, Unyielding Anguish is one of our more important damage skills in this. instead of using this once and being out of energy, you're going to be able to use this twice and still not be out of energy, right? So very, very important. And this is what makes this so hard, is that when you start your rotation, the slower you are, because your energy will refill while you don't have these draining skills active, your energy will refill, and it's going to make it harder for people who are a little bit slower, which you naturally are as you practice a new rotation. You're going to be slower than somebody who's very well versed in this rotation. It's going to be harder for somebody who's slower with their skills to get below 10% energy reliably. And this really is what makes it hard to learn, right? So I'm just going to give myself these boots, and I'll just show a quick rotation. Keep in mind, like, I'm not going to, like, grind out massive rotations. I'm planning to upload this unedited, so, yeah, I hope I don't fuck up too much, but please bear with me, right? Let's spawn a golem. This is for the nightmare build, so I'm going to go with a small hitbox. Always go for 4 million HP. We're going to add the conditions and spawn our golem. So, for the opening of the rotation, you're going to use Unyielding Anguish once, then I'm going to pop my elite, use my 3 and 4, and that's going to get me below 10% energy, and then I'm going to swap to color, okay? Now, there's one thing to mention maybe about, like, your choice of legends. Basically, there are two popular ways to run this. You can run Kala and Malix, and that is generally the higher DPS build in a raid, but if you run multiple Renegades, then running multiple Kala Renegades in the same sub-squad is actually going to be bad, because some of their skills are going to overwrite each other. So make sure to always only have one Kala Renegade in each sub-squad if you're in a raid. The other ones will want to run Shiro, and Shiro is the easier version, and Shiro is also the one that's better if you run Balefire, basically. Shiro does profit from Balefire as well. Anyway, for now I'm just going to run Color, and Color is probably a slightly harder one. Color makes energy management a little bit harder, it's a little bit more narrow. On Shiro really is the more beginner-friendly one. I'm going to show you that one next, right? I'm going to go for the Nightmare build with the color rotation, and then I'm going to show you guys the Balefire build using Shiro as my second one, okay? Okay, so let's just start. I'm going to use my Unyielding Anguish, 3-4, drain below 10%. Also, I'm going to use my elite during this, right? So to make sure I'm below 10%, I'm going to swap to Kala. Then I'm going to use F3. I'm going to use one Kala skill. And that's going to drop me very low, and also I'm going to swap weapons, right? So one thing to take notice of is that you want to generally swap weapons right after you swapped legends. You don't swap quite at the exact same time, but you swap shortly after. Basically, once I swap to Kala, I'm going to use my shortbow 2 one more time, and then I'm going to swap my weapon. And this is going to be a theme throughout these rotations, is I'm always going to legend swap, use one more 2 skill on my on the weapon that I have at that point, and then I'm going to weapon swap, okay? So in general, you're always, whenever you're on Malix, you want to be on shortbow, and whenever you're on Kala or Shiro, you want to be on Mace Axe, right? But you're not going to swap them at exactly the same time. You're going to have a slight delay in there, okay? And you're going to use one more 2 skill. Alright, so I'm just going to like get started. Basically, some things to look out for is like keep an eye on my energy management, especially on color. It's going to be extremely narrow. I'm going to be just barely below 10%, which is why this is much harder to learn at the beginning. Really, if you're starting out on this new, start learning Shiro, maybe skip to the point of this video where I play Shiro, look at that first, and then later come to color. It's just right now I'm on Nightmare, right? So I'm just going to run this for now. Alright, let's go. See how exact that is in your energy management. And I'm going to use weapon skills first, and then the utility skills. See how narrow that was with the timing. Okay, this is probably the biggest difference to Vindications. I'm using Unyielding Anguish twice in this. Oh, wait, oh. Okay, I actually kind of fucked up there, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but what you could see there is is basically I'm aiming to be below 10% every time, right? And there are a few tricks basically to look out for. Mainly, if you're on Malix, I'm waiting for 25%. And if I'm at 25% energy, I can use my elite 3, 4, and I'm going to be below 10 energy, and then I can swap, right? So I'm at 25%, elite 3, 4, and now I can swap, and I always hit the threshold that way, right? That is a point that you want to look out for, is when you're on Malix, basically you use your Unyielding Anguish twice, and then before you swap, you start with your weapon skills. You always kind of start with your weapon skills, then you use your utility skills for damage, and then you want to use your weapon skills one last time before you swap to color, right? So I'm going to attack this until I'm at 75% energy, which basically means this is where I would be after a normal weapon swap, right? I'd be at 75% energy. I'm going to use my weapon skills. I'm going to use 3, 4, 2. I'm going to use Unyielding Anguish once. Then I'm going to use my 2 again. Unyielding Anguish twice. And then I'm going to wait until I'm at 25 energy again. And then I'm going to use 3, 4, pop my elite during these, swap legends, and use 2. And that's going to bring me, if I time it correctly, and I'm at 25% when I use my last 3, 4 elite combo, that's going to bring me to below 10%, and that's going to be exactly perfect for the swap. And so, all right, take a look. Oh, God! Of course I messed up. Of course I messed it up because it's a video. It's unedited, guys. Okay? Bear with me. Bear with me, please. 75% energy is what we're looking for. Okay. Okay, and again, I'm looking for 25% energy. And here we go. Yeah, and there we go. And that way you always end up below 10%, right? It's a little bit weird to, like, start on Malix. So, because you usually always have this during a rotation when you're already kind of warmed up, right? But yeah. I'm just going to do one more rotation on this. And I'm going to keep the commentary down on this one, right? So you can just kind of look at it, look for the things that I mentioned earlier, try to see exactly where the timings are, try to finding that 25% mark. Basically look at, like, for example, something else I do is, right, I try to use as many of these 2 skills, for example, as I can, right? So if you delay a 2 skill for the sake of casting Unyielding Anguish twice in a row, this is why I cast Unyielding Anguish once, then 2, then Unyielding Anguish again, is because otherwise I delay my 2 skill and that would, like, delay my weapon swap later on, right? Stuff like this. Like, keep an eye on the details, because you really, if you want to pull this off, I guess you kind of have to look at details a lot, and you have to be quick, right? That's going to be the biggest challenge for you to overcome, is going to be to use your skills quickly to energy manage, right? Okay? Okay. I'm going to shut up and just, like, watch the rotation, right? Alright. And that is basically the rotation that you want to do. If you're looking for more info on this, by the way, go check out snowcrows.com. They have a great guide for these for this. I'm not a revenant main really, right? So like I'm trying to convey to you guys the basic idea and the basic principles of the rotation for practicing purposes. But if you're looking for real in-depth info, right, make sure to hit up that snowcrows.com, right, and check out their guides. I'm going to link it in the description, the Renegade site. They have way more, they have way better Revenant players than myself, right? So go ask them if you have in-depth questions, if you find something that I didn't answer you with, right? Because they're gonna know better, right? Okay, so next up, I'm going to go for the Balefire build. I'm going to quickly jump on my build templates here and swap to Balefire. And again, keep in mind, this one I want a large hitbox for. And on this one, you're going to see me use Citadel Bombardment more, okay? Basically, on the other rotation, I used Citadel Bombardment only when I was in Kala, okay? You saw when I swapped to Kala, I used my weapon skills, then I used Citadel Bombardment and Razor's Claw's Rage at the same time. Then I'd like kind of just use my 2 again, wait for some energy to replenish. Then use Ice Razor's Ire to bring myself down in energy again. I'd use my 3 skill one last time, and that would just barely bring me below 10% energy, right? Very narrow timing. And it's actually incredibly punishing if you mess this up. This is why this is such a challenging class. It's because if you mess this up, you're going to end up with much less energy, and it's going to throw off your entire rotation. Yeah, like, use this to get below 10% energy. Something that you can do, by the way, if you're in a fight and you find yourself with too much energy, what you can do is every stance kind of has something that is an energy drainer, right? And for Kala, it would be the elite. So if you find yourself on 15% energy where you really want to be below 10%, just use the elite for a bit. It's going to delay your rotation a bit, but at least you're not going to completely mess up, right? So that is something to keep in mind. In an actual scenario, you are going to mess this up unless you run with a very good team that takes care of most mechanics for you. At some point, you're going to get that bomb on Doom or something. It's going to mess up your energy management. You have to keep in mind which skills to use to drain your energy, right? So rather than swapping on more than 10% energy, instead take the second to like drain your energy to below 10 to make sure that you can recover your rotation, right? Like I like to call this recovering your rotation, right? Because once you've done this once, you've kind of like, it sucks, right? But at least afterwards you're going to have basically reset your rotation and you can start over, right? And then you don't have any lasting influence from that one fuck up, maybe. Okay, let's go for Balefire, though. What you could see on Nightmare is I only used the Citadel Bombardment in Kala once, right? What you're going to see now is that I'm actually going to use it... I'm going to run Shiro now instead of Kala. And it doesn't really change much about the rotation, except I'm just going to use Impossible Odds as a utility skill. So basically, just as on Kala, I'm going to start with using my weapon skills. I'm going to run 2-5-3. Then I'm going to use Citadel Bombardment, and as this channels, I'm going to proc Impossible Odds. This doesn't have a cast time, this doesn't interrupt your cast or anything, you can just pop this while you're casting Citadel Bombardment, right? And that's important because of energy management, right? You don't want to cast Impossible Odds earlier than, at the very earliest, using your Mace 3. If you run 2-5-3, then this is the earliest you want to cast Impossible Odds. Otherwise, you're going to run out of energy. It's going to reset. Once you're at 0 energy, it basically stops all of your active skills. And it's just going to start to quickly replenish. And that's a way that you can actually mess this up. So keep an eye on that. Don't use Impossible Odds before the 3 skill at the earliest. If you want to make sure, use it on the F3. And then you're actually going to find me use it on Malix as well. So earlier, when I was on Malix, I used only I used 2 Unyielding Anguishes. Now this time I'm instead going to use Unyielding Anguish once, and use Citadel Bombardment instead of the second Unyielding Anguish, okay? And this is going to work on every second loop, okay? This doesn't work on every single loop, because... basically just because of the cooldown, right? If I use this on Shiro, this is not going to be up immediately when I'm on Malix. So it's going to be up after the first Unyielding Anguish. Then if I use it, it's not going to be immediately up on Shiro, so like it shifts, right? So while on the first loop you're going to use this earlier in your Shiro, on the second loop you're actually going to use this towards the end of Shiro, and therefore it's not going to be up when you're back in Malix. And then you're going to use Unyielding Anguish instead, because then you're going to wait to have this up in Shiro, because this is more important to be casted in Shiro than in Malix, okay? Just to kind of understand the principle behind it, right? So you're not going to always see me cast this in Malix. You're going to see me cast this in Malix every second time, because afterwards this is going to be on cooldown, and if I used it on Malix again, I couldn't use it on Shiro because it would be on cooldown, right? So instead then you'll use Unyielding Anguish. But let's just do it! What is all this talk, right? Let's just get to it, and I hope you'll see some of the some resemblance to the other rotation. It's basically in its core idea it's the same, right? But if you're completely new, I'd actually suggest you start on this rotation, right? And you just kind of replace. Basically, you start on the Kala rotation, but you replace Kala with Shiro. And you know what? I guess I'm going to show that again at the end of the video as well, is to kind of show the Nightmare rotation, but with Shiro. Just because it's easier. It's easier. It might be easier for you to learn that way, right? Okay, so intro's the same. Unyielding Anguish, 3, 4, and Elite. Weapons, Legend swap, 1 more short bow 2. Then I'm going to use all my mace axe skills, and then as I said, I'm just going to toggle impossible odds, and that's going to drain your energy. That makes energy management so easy on Shiro, right? That's why it's so much easier than Kala. Because you always have a drainer. You always have a draining skill active in Shiro, so your energy is always... It's just way easier to keep it below the 10% mark, right? Okay, let's go. Oh, wait. I messed up. I want a big hitbox on this. You want a big hitbox on this, otherwise it doesn't make sense. Yeah, let's spawn the huge hitbox, 4 million... Oh wait, it already has Condis, right? Yeah, okay. Now, large hitbox. This is the important part, right? Let's make sure I do have Vindication. I do have my Balefire rune. It doesn't change anything about your sigils, by the way. All your gear is the same, just the armor changes, right? And just the rune, really. Okay, let's go. See, it's so much easier on the energy management. Like, the other one is such a narrow timing. This one barely matters. See, and I use my F3 here. I'm still waiting. I'm again gonna wait for the 25%. It's always the same. I use my impossible odds. And see, now, it's much later in Shiro that I use my F3. So it's not going to be up on Malix. So now, instead of using F3, I'm going to use Unyielding Anguish twice. I'm basically going to do what you do in the Nightmare rotation. See, in energy management, so easy on this. Much, much easier on Kala, really. Especially in an actual fight. And now I can use the F3 again. Because it's going to be up in Shiro. 25%. My skills and swap, and see, I get to use my F3 here. Energy management, really no problem. And now I can't use it, so I use double Unyielding Anguish, 25%. Let's go for the skills swap. And again, energy management is perfect. And here I can use the F3 again. Wait for 25%. Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, and this is... Maybe if we want to talk for numbers that you should hit with this, you actually saw me hit much lower number earlier. I think I actually hit the golem because before I started the rotation or something on Nightmare. On Nightmare, basically this is what I do, is when I practice this, I practice this without the food just to save me some gold. If you're new to the rotation, maybe this is something you want to do as well, just because otherwise you're going to spend a lot of food on the golem. Instead I just give myself all the buffs, I give myself all the class-specific buffs, and I basically know numbers that my guild has tested that I should roughly hit, right? So if you want to do pretty well, if you think you're a pretty decent renegade, a number that you can aim for if you have full infusions and full ascended gear, of course. Well, actually, you know what? Let me look that up real quick. You should at least hit 36k on this if you have infusions, and not at least, but like 36k is a decent number. 36k is a decent number that you could hit. If you really want a goal to aim for, right, then aim for 36.5k. If you hit 36.5k with this stuff on the Balefire build, you're good. Okay, you're good to go. Absolutely no problem there. That's a very good number to hit. If you don't have infusions, detract like about 2 to 3% off of that. So the number will be lower. Really, if you just want to get into raids, if you're completely new, you don't have to hit these numbers, okay? This is a hard rotation to pull off. If you instead of 36k, you have all the infusions and you hit 34, you're still good to go, okay? Like, raid, it's not going to be a problem. It's barely going to be noticeable for you in raids. If you hit, I don't know, if you hit 30 even, right, it's still okay, and you can make up the last 6% through practice, if you find it interesting, right? Some people smell the challenge, right? So, of trying to hit the good numbers. Yeah, keep in mind if you run exotic gear or something, the number is gonna be way lower. You shouldn't go in here with exotic gear and expect to hit these numbers, right? Keep in mind this is Ascended plus infusions. If you run Kala Nightmare, the number is going to be slightly lower. On Kala Nightmare, if you want to be the top dog, right, you can hit for 35.5 to 35.7. Would be a really good number to hit for on the Nightmare rotation. If you hit lower than that, okay, that's no problem. Really, if you like, I think if you hit 34, you're good to go. But yeah, that's about as far as you can push it, right? 35.7, probably 36 or a little bit higher if you really grind that golem. But that's not something I expect a new player should do, honestly. It's kind of dull. Yeah, and did I miss anything? Is there anything else I need to talk about? Really, the Shiro rotation is so much easier for a newer player. If you just want to play the last, oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to quickly. I'm going to go back to the Nightmare build real quick. The one using Lasting Legacy. Let's see if yes, I do look like a light bulb. That's my cue that I'm on Nightmare. I'm going to summon that small hitbox mob again, and basically I'm just going to use Shiro now. Yeah, instead of Kala, just to show you that it's much easier this way, right? It's the easier rotation to practice. I'm going to use a small hitbox, 4 million, spawn the golem. Yeah, and this is the last displayable rotation. And I might not even finish this one, okay? I just want to quickly show it. I think all the elements of the rotation have been shown in the other rotation. If you guys have any questions about this, by the way, then just let me know in the comments, right? And as the video finishes, I'm just going to show you this rotation one last time. I'm already gonna say it. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the sub button if you liked it. If you want more of this stuff, let me know in the comments. Check out my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/EasyRocker, because I'm usually a Twitch streamer. And yeah, enjoy the rotation. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in-game. My in-game name, my account name is execution.4152. I'm very happy to answer you guys all the questions that you have. You can also find a Discord channel on my Twitch. So yeah, enjoy, and thanks for watching. Alright, well, that was a god-awful rotation, but I hope you guys... understood what I was going for, right? One more little helpful tip, by the way, is if you move your mouse cursor over your health bar or your skills, and you use a ground-targeted skill like Unyielding Anguish, you're actually going to cast it in place. You're going to cast it just where you are, right? You're going to see me use this quite a bit, right? Because I don't want to move too much. I don't want to, like, use it like this because it's going to take longer, right? Instead, I just want to, like, use it on spot. I don't want to misplace myself, especially in, like, a Doom fight where you always want to be in the same spot behind Doom, right? This makes it a lot easier for me. So, yeah, I hope you found that helpful. Thanks for watching again, guys, and see you guys next time. Bye-bye.